Record? It's okay. Okay, here we go. Perek Shlishi. Perek Shlishi. Aval Maisim Yishlamu Biachtam La'el Beis Hasoisam. He Maise Avoida Shemakaven Behem Return Elikim. Vehem Kol HaMitzvahs Haniros Alei Varim. Shef shetia kavan ben muzuas hakel v'tia kavanas oiseyam lizdayin behem eitz b'nei yodam. L'kaves kibudam b'shivcham aloisam. So he says, right, where does this apply? Where does this shar of yichud hamaisa, where does it apply? He says, the general, these are the actions of avodah, which we hope to get the favor of Hashem, right? We cover you're serving Hashem. This is all the mitzvahs that are observable, as they're being performed by the limbs and the organs of the body. In these open mitzvahs, in these mitzvahs that are done externally, actions, there's a possibility that your kavanah may not be totally HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the intention could be to impress other people, and hope to gain their honor, respect, their praise for doing them. Right? However, he says, but when it comes to the Chovos Evarim, now this is interesting because Rav Miller has pointed out a few times that we're talking about Chovos Evarim in this sefer. And yet here it seems that the Chovos Evarim is saying that this Shah Yichud HaMaisa doesn't apply to Chovos Evarim, that it only applies to Chovos Evarim. He says, when it comes to Chovos Evarim, it's not possible. It's impossible to do them because of chaydev, to get flattery. It says to curry favor, to get covered, because nobody knows what's going on in your heart. The Chovos Evarim are all internalized. And when you do it, nobody knows you're even doing it. This is Chovos Evarim. So you can't say, so the whole pasha of Yichud HaMaisa, he's saying only applies to mitzvahs that are mitzvahs haniros alei varim. We're there, since I'm doing it externally, there's reason to believe, or there's the possibility, that I'm going to do it for other reasons also. Not only because it's mitzvah of Hashem, I might be doing it to get covered, right? I might be doing it to get praised. But he says, but says the Chovos Evarim, but the mitzvahs that are Chovos Evarim, not shaykh. You're only doing it for the mashkif, for the one who knows what's inside your heart. As the Navi says, Yirmiyahu, Ani Hashem choykele boichin kloyes. I'm the one who knows what's going on in your heart. Omar, Hanistaris Hashem Elokeinu. So, first of all, it seems here, I mean, again, I don't remember where Bill said it, but I remember using it as a proof that we must be talking about Chovos Evarim, because that's what the sefer is. And here was finding that this whole shar only applies to Chovos Haniros alei varim. Number two, it's a little confusing for me. He says, "Hey, call out mitzvahs haniros alei varim." It refers to all the mitzvahs that are haniros alei varim. And it's over here. Right, and if we go back a few pages, it's like he says over here. So suppose you want to do a mitzvah of thinking about Hashem, nobody knows that you're now doing this mitzvah, and there's no need for Chovos Evarim to warn you to be single-minded in your dedication. But when you're putting on tefillin, people can see you, so you're really not sure, and your motives So are you really sure that your motives are pure? After all, if you cut shul and dump on film, people will look askance at you. What's this fellow doing here? Now wearing a talus, I wonder what's he doing here. He had said earlier on page 7, when it said Perik Rishon, what is dedicating our actions to Hashem HaKavana Banira Vanister, our intention in every public or private act. So he wrote, before we go any further, we must understand that when the Chovos Evarim talks about mitzvahs, he's not thinking about tefillin or mezuzahs or tzitzis. I don't know. Here he just said, and he himself said, example of tefillin and tzitzis. So it's a little confusing for me. I mean, the Pashtus in the Sefer is talking about all these mitzvahs. Not only what Rav Miller said about being having gratitude to Hashem when you eat, express your gratitude. Here, L'chura, he himself is saying that the definition of the whole shar is for all mitzvahs. So I don't know exactly. Again, he didn't. Years ago, I had asked for Shlomo Kalbach, not the singer, the one who had been the Mashkiach in Chaim Berlin, and I seem to have difficulty something in the Bichtav Eliyahu. And he told me it's difficult to ask questions because he didn't write it himself. So it's hard to be medayik in his words. Right? It was shmuzes that were written down. The Bichtav Eliyahu never saw them written. So, and I don't know also like what he actually said on tape that they wrote down, but it seems to contradict itself. So we're going to go with the simple explanation that it refers to all mitzvahs. We're talking about all mitzvahs that are mitzvahs Evarim, actions. That's where you have to be careful. What's my kavod here? Is it all pure? Is it totally pure? Is it a little bit of this, a little bit of that? But he says clearly, but Chovos haLevavos, there's no place for any other reason. Why would you do it? Nobody knows what you're thinking. You're doing Avas Hashem. You're doing Yiras Hashem. At least, the concept of loving Hashem, he says, loving another Jew. Well, you just have thoughts about the fact of loving another Jew. These are things that you're doing it only as a mitzvah, just as no one knows that you're doing it for any other reason. Excuse me. That's Perik Shlishi. That's where this shar applies to. Perik Revi. There are three things that are reasons that keep a person from sincerely dedicating his actions to Hashem. And they are that you don't really understand Hashem and his kindness. And he's going to discuss each one of them. You don't understand the mitzvahs of Hashem and his teachings. Of Ashlishi, Hero Hayetzer, Urimizose La'odam B'Mashichabe B'Lov, Oilav Hazeh V'Echiker B'Dech Oilav Haba. The third is the enticing thoughts, the Hero Hayetzer of the Yetzer Hara. That is Rimizose La'odam, his suggestions to people, B'Mashichabe B'Lov, by causing worldly pleasures to become attractive to him. So I have another goal. The Sahara causes this world to be attractive to me. And therefore, when I do actions in this world, it can be colored by those desires that I have, by those hopes, by those goals. And by discouraging him, and discouraging him from thinking about the purpose of his life and his path to the world to come. So that's an easy one. This would be mafsid my yichud hamaisa, because I have another purpose in the world, another goal, another ratzon, and my actions will be based on that also. My actions are impure. But the first two, an ignorant of Hashem, you don't understand Hashem ves tevosoi, his kindness. And the second one, shal yavid mitzvahs helikibus teirosim, not understanding the mitzvahs of Hashem and his teaching. So he says like this: Ava ofnei hefsed hasichos bidas helikim lemaisa avoid behu. How is this? Why is the ignorance of Hashem? Why is that an obstacle to yichud hamaisa? If you don't know your master, so that you're not going to serve him in your heart. In other words, to have a yichud hamaisa, this is a little bit like the Asay Toiv, number 3. Number 3 was like the Sur Meirah. Number 3 was that you should have a different goal, right? You shouldn't be thinking the Olam Haza world. If you think the Olam Haza world, so when you do actions, it'll be with that intention also. So here used to be that say toiv. If you don't know, you don't have a clarity of Hashem, all the good He does to you, then you won't be serving Him also, because you're going to serve. If you don't know who it is, you can't serve Him. If you don't realize He's doing you good, you're not going to serve Him. Obviously, this is built by the Shara Bechida, things that we've spoken about. But he's just saying that this is a necessary condition to be able to do Yichud HaMaisa. I have to know who I'm being Rabbi Yachim Rabbaisa to. Why should I be Rabbi Yachim Rabbaisa? Who am I doing it to? Now over here, there's a different girsa. He has one girsa, and I looked at the standard Chovos Evarim, and there was a little bit of a different girsa. He has that someone who doesn't know his master won't serve him in his heart. Rather, he'll serve the way Rav Miller translates it. The person who doesn't understand the exaltedness of Hashem, creator of the universe, will instead serve a faulty concept of what he thinks is Hashem. Right? He'll serve instead of knowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu as correctly. He translates of what he thinks is Hashem. Therefore, he's not single-minded in his devotion. He will serve people, and mistakenly things will act towards him with benefit or harm. And therefore, he's going to serve them because he wants to protect himself from the harm, and he wants to gain that benefit. So, but I was looking here before, and it's slightly different, and I think it has a different meaning. Someone who doesn't know his master, so he's not going to serve him. Coming from his heart to but who will serve Hashem? Someone who knows Hashem. And it'll be clear to him that it's from Hashem to do the good and the bad. That's how it says it in Chovos Evarim that has the Leif Tayvan. But Yavdeu doesn't mean that you'll serve someone else. You'll serve people. Right? Like sort of thinking that they're the power, that they're, right? But rather, who will serve is someone who does know in Yonah. He does understand Hashem is the Echad and everything's from him and all the good we have is from him. right? And he knows that in Hashem's hands is the good or the bad. That's who you're going to serve with a full heart. So it's a slightly different girsa, but the first thing, the first mafsid is a lack of understanding who you're supposed to be serving and why you're supposed to be serving it. Okay, based on Rav Miller's, good girsa, and surprised they don't mention this another girsa. He says that's why an uneducated person can more quickly become an apikoros or mechumah. Easier for him. Comes more quickly since he wasn't brought up with the idea of feeling the presence of Hashem. It's easier for him to switch and do whatever people around him are. He's easily influenced because he's not living with a true feeling of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Jew brought up to think about the entire history of Hashem's relationship to Klal Yisrael and the world. He was brought up to know that Hashem created the world. Hashem loves our forefathers because of their devotion to Hashem. Took us out of Mitzrayim, gave us His blessings. He assured us that we are His people, and He taught us His Torah at Har Sinai. That person already has an idea of Hashem in his mind, is more capable of being single-minded in service to Hashem, because he has a real thing in his mind. So then and the less you have, it's the more of a mafsid. Again, we're talking about single-minded, doing mitzvahs, with a yichud hamaisa. So you have to know that. The more you know who you're serving and why you're serving, the more that your actions are going to be geared there. Let's imagine an Orthodox Jew who never learned to think about anything. When he says a bracha from the Siddur, it's just words, right? It's mitzvahs milamuda. He's serving Hashem milamuda. So when he says a bracha, just words. He has no picture in his mind that would cause him to feel clarity in what Hashem means. He's not picturing Baruch Atah Hashem, right? Master of the universe. You made this potato grow. You're not living with that truth. You're just saying a bracha because that's what you were taught to do. So if that's why you're doing the brachas and stuff, he's saying this person is more ready to serve people around him because these people are real.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I think the Mishnah Berurah mentions about having kavanas and everything, and he quotes I don't know who it is, the Rosh, right? Who said after learning all the Sifrei Kabbalah and everything, he began to daven like a
simple
like a Tinok ben Chamish is I think the exact, like a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old has no idea, right, what they're saying, what they're doing, but it's
I know what you referred to. I don't remember the Tinok Bas Chamish, but that doesn't mean it's. Unless I said something. What do you say, Rabbi Ganovsky?
I think that means like approach Hashem in a purity. I don't think it means in like not the opposite of what you said. It's certain pashtus that you have when you come to Hashem. Doesn't mean you don't understand what's going on. You don't appreciate it. Certain pashtus that a person has.
All right. So you gotta Simcha, you gotta find it so we can see it inside. Okay. It's somewhere in at the beginning, I think.
It says right. I mean, right in the beginning, it says like the opposite. If you do try to do too much, it's mekata, it's menetius, and then.
Yeah, but that's talking about having machshavos of Kabbalah and all these higher thoughts and yichudim and kavaras that you find in some of the sifrei shash stuff. I always understood, but again, I want to see it again now. That what he means is you should do it. He doesn't mean you should say it without understanding the words.
Right. So my
in other words, the way I said, I think that's what I said. Like you have simplicity when you approach Hashem, but they don't understand what's going on. Certain simplicity that a person has.
Right. No, but even like a 5-year-old, like a kid, even this Orthodox Jew that Rabbi Miller is talking about knows that he's serving Hashem in the moment, I think. Knows
But
that
it
the
can't.
bracha.
Yeah, but Simcha, it can. Look, I want to see it inside again, but it's
Okay.
hard to believe. It's hard to accept that the Shabur is telling you, or this Rash is telling you, that when you say Bari Priya AIDS, you shouldn't think about the fact that Hashem made a tree, like Rav Miller would say, I know the wonders of the tree, and thank you for that. It's talking about Ichud, Kavod, it's all kind of Kabbalistic things that you have in mind. Say it straight. But it doesn't mean just, it's the expression everyone uses, you davened up, which is a funny expression to use, because
Daven
davening
it
is
up.
supposed to be, right? It became a word that says you just,
Mechuden
randomly.
hates when you say it.
He hates when you say it, right?
Very rapid.
Yeah.
That's
You
a
rattle off the
daven.
words.
That's a
Right.
daven.
That's not davening. Everywhere it says you have to have kavana, you have to be thinking about what you're davening, right? So and that's what it means here. Unfortunately, unless you invest time and effort, you could be taka from yid, and you are a from yid. But you doing this thing 3 times a day, you're making hopefully 100 brachas a day. And unless you would take out a moment to think about what you're saying and think about what you're doing, you start davening things up. You just start rattling things up. You make a bracha, and then after you ate, you say, "One minute, did I make a bracha? I don't remember if I made the bracha." Right? Oh yeah, I made a bracha. Because you just said it without any thought. So he says, but someone who's trained himself in all these things to do with thought, and so it strengthens your relationship with Hashem, and therefore Yichud HaMaisa is going to be much better. Obviously, Yichud HaMaisa, whatever acts of mitzvahs you do is going to be with more intention and more with the right intention. If not, so then everything's the same, he's saying, says Rav Miller. So people, and maybe people even more real to you than Hashem, in your active. Now, if you ask the guy, obviously he's not going to say that, but it is day-to-day actions. And therefore, when he does mitzvahs, they may be factored in more. Why are you doing the mitzvah? Everyone's like, I'm going to call me a sheikh if I don't. I come to shul because people are going to start asking, why don't you come to shul? Where's your friend? Where's your husband? Found it?
No, I have to look for it.
Okay, good. If a person doesn't know Hashem, prefers an action of a mitzvah, ma'isa avoda, kavanasa behem, his intention is is that for one who looks for the approval of people because he fears people or places his hope in them. That's why he's going to do the mitzvahs. Now, again, let's not paint a black or white picture here.
I found it. I think it's very it's very much like what you were saying.
Okay, saved by the bell, yeah.
No. It says lo yechaven adam b'shemos v'yichunim rak yispal kepshuto lahavin hadvarim b'kavonas alev. Just to understand what the words are.
Okay, there you go. Okay. All right. So again, we're not talking black and white. There's a lot of gray, and we're all on the gray somewhere. Hopefully, a little closer to this end and not to that end, right? But just as to be, illustrative. So you choose the 2 ends. Some of just David doesn't have any intention at all, right? So he's doing, what's he doing? Mitzvahs for? Because either it's just because it's total habit, that's what he was raised to do without any thought, or it's because of the society around him. It's where he lives. It's what else
but it is still interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't say Ben Chamesh. She said, and then from it's according to Magen Avram, it's Ketinok Ben Yomo. So I mean, obviously, a 1 day old can't daven. So this
it's an expression.
Yeah. It's the beginning of the for Mishabur Simon Sadi Ches. So
okay.
But Rav Miller seems to be saying that it's more somebody who has a deficient understanding or a mistaken understanding of Hashem. In other words, that the way I heard it was that
Yeah.
the person would focus mostly, let's say, on the wrath of Hashem. If I do an Avera, I'm going to get a huge patch. In other words, it's not the all-encompassing HaKadosh Baruch Hu of compassion, of love,
I'm not
and
seeing
they
that.
just kind of work under that understanding as opposed to a broader, in other words, that's an element of Hashem. That's a facet, not the only.
I don't know. I'm not so much seeing that.
No?
Look,
Okay.
when he listed off the three before we're explaining it, Shlo Yovid, it's that he doesn't understand Hashem and his kindness.
Mhm.
And that's why we're elaborating on that line. When someone who doesn't know HaKadosh Baruch does an act of the avodah mitzvahs, his intention is it's what he hopes to get from people, approval from people. He's serving people, and he's not serving the creator who created them, because he doesn't know Hashem. He doesn't know Hashem or appreciate his exalted character. He's not focused on that.
Uh-huh. Okay. My Sefer comes on Monday. So.
Okay, let's stop here. Mitzvah Hashem, Sunday.